Hello, everybody. We're going to get started in about 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending Using Credit Cards Wisely. My name is Pete Panito. I do business development here at First Northern Credit Union. I'm usually, last year and a half, I've been working remotely, but when I do pop into the office, I'm usually out in the Evanston branch. And we do free monthly workshops every month for our members and for the community at large. For those who don't know, we are the credit union for Northwestern Medicine and Northwestern University and ComEd, Exelon. And so besides the free monthly workshops that we do, we have this would be our third year that we are the financial wellness partner with the city of Evanston, and this is part of that program. So welcome. You can download a couple of handouts that I put online here, and I reference them once in a while. So, and I'm going to follow up in the next couple of days with a PDF form of this PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to be presenting today. If there's any questions during the session, please ask them in the chat box, and I will get to them. If not during the presentations, I certainly will address them at the end of the presentation. I'm flying solo today, so if everybody can be a little patient with me, I'm technically challenged, but we're going to get started. And with the first slide, here we go. Using credit cards wisely. See, I've already screwed up. Using credit cards wisely. Okay, so I like to say that using credit cards is like driving a car. So not knowing how to do it properly can get you into some bad situations, but with the right knowledge and mindset, both can take you where you want to go. Sometimes credit cards are thought of as a way to pay for things that you don't have the cash to buy, but they can also serve as for very useful purposes, okay? Using credit cards in a responsible way, wisely, can reflect well to lenders, open up job opportunities, help you qualify for housing, get you better rates on insurance, etc. Now, we do budgeting workshops, and one of the first things we want to stress is creating that emergency account, that emergency fund. But credit cards allows for peace of mind knowing that you can use credit cards to cover emergency costs. On the other hand, credit cards can also be a major temptation to spend money on items that you can't afford. You never want to use a credit card as another source of income. So we have become a debtor nation. Now, you go back to the 70s, I'm about 1,000 years old, and we were a credit nation with a large manufacturing base. Nowadays, it's a completely different situation. So it's more than ever important that you stick to some of these guiding principles, okay? And you need to stay vigilant. That's my introduction. Here we go. First slide. What do we have here? Why does using credits wisely matter? Well, using credit cards wisely can help you get closer to your goals. They are just one tool that, if used wisely, can help you build and maintain your credit on the road to other things. credit reports, credit scores. They have become a very common determinant for what we have access to in life. So car insurance companies give access to better insurance rates to their consumers who have higher credit scores. Certain jobs require a background and they require a credit check. Credit is now even more important, even now, so much more important when buying a home than before, since lenders are a lot more cautious than they were 10 years ago, let's say. And credit also gives you family security. Next slide. I've lost myself. Next slide. Here we go. Using credit to achieve your goals. So credit is often thought of as a way to buy things you can't afford to pay off right now. But the role of the credit card in people's financial lives, it's changed in being a way to prove your financial stability, responsibility. Knowing this allows you to use credit as a resource for helping us build a positive track record that allows others, especially creditors, to trust us and help us achieve our financial goals, okay? Types of credit cards. So the good old-fashioned general credit cards, they can be used anywhere. Limited purpose cards can only be used at a particular store or gas station, those retail cards. Secure cards are similar to the general cards, but the difference being that a security deposit is held for a certain amount of time as a guarantee of repayment. We have this option at First Northern. It's for people who didn't, let's say, make the wisest credit card decisions in the past and need to rebuild credit, or these secured cards are used to initially build credit as well. They are easier to obtain because it requires a deposit, and the deposit acts as security for repayment of charges on the card. They have rewards cards, which offer cash back or points that are redeemable for travel or merchandise. But these cards may have fees associated with them that may cancel out those benefits. So, as I said before, be diligent when you're reading these the fine print. Okay, a charge card is kind of an old relic these days. These have no preset spending limits, but the balance on the charge card needs to be paid in full each month. And to make a note, credit cards, they actually prefer that you only pay the minimum payment each month, because that's where they can charge you the high interest on those balances. That's how they make their money. They are the casino, okay? The balance transfers, bullet point. You get these mailers, right? We do these transfer balances as well. They're designed for people who want to pay off debt quickly at a lower interest rate than their current card. Now, you need to crunch the numbers, though. Sometimes these transfer balances have fees involved. Sometimes they are interest-free for a few months, and then the high interest rate kicks in. You need to crunch the numbers. Be diligent. So, people start going from one balance transfer promo to the next because they want to avoid simply buckling up and paying down the debt. So you can get yourself in a lot of trouble if you aren't careful when you start doing this. You can never snow the snowman. The credit bureau knows exactly what you're doing. And this kind of kiting kind of thing, it can and will hurt your credit score. And the last bullet point here, special student cards, they're designed for college students with limited credit experience, and usually they come with relatively low limits and probably higher fees. The business credit cards, they're meant for individuals who run businesses to keep their personal and business expenditures separate, and they provide some features tailored to entrepreneurs, like cash rewards. And then lastly, these premium cards, they offer perks not available that the other types of cards have, but they usually have higher fees and they're only offered to those with high incomes and high credit scores, like the Amex Platinum or the Chase Sapphire, very fancy schmancy cards. Okay, next slide. Shopping for a credit card. Okay, so the characters, or I should say the character, the characteristics of cards now need to be spelled out very clearly before you open the account. So take advantage of this and educate yourself as thoroughly as possible. Be diligent. Do your homework before opening up a credit card. Avoid opening a spur of the moment credit card, right? Because it's attached to like some certain offer. I was on, I think it was either United Airlines or American Airlines flight. And as I'm struggling to breathe through the required mask, I heard this pre-recorded message over and over and over again as we're coming into land towards the end of the flight to get their credit card. Very annoying. And even when you're at certain retail shops or whatever, there's always somebody who might be pushing the credit card at that particular store, and they offer something that's just too good to pass up. Or even at on Amazon. Every time I go to Amazon, when I'm ready to pay the checkout, they're always pushing this credit card on me. But you need to do your due diligence. You do your homework, read the fine print, check the details of every offer. And of course, what's the next bullet? The interest rate. Right. So you want to check out the annual percentage rate if you're going to carry a balance from month to month on a card. A low fixed annual percentage rate is very important since it will save a lot of money and interest charges. However, you ideally want to pay off your balance each month on a credit card and not have to pay any of those high interest charges. So, just be aware that credit cards, they normally have different APRs for purchases, those cash advantage, and the balance transfers. So again, keep an eye on that stuff. The grace period here, the bullet point for a credit card is usually between 21 and 30 days. Usually, don't be late on your payments. Out of the 100% pie that makes up the credit score, 35% of that pie looks at your on-time or late payments. Look carefully to see what additional charges or fees you may have before you open up a new card. And the general note, credit reports are built and maintained by credit bureaus. There are other credit report webinars that we present that covers this in further detail, but know that there are three major credit bureaus in the States: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. The best way to limit your personal risk with a credit card also happens to be the kind of behavior that can improve your credit score. And the credit score simply is a mathematical assessment of the likelihood that you'll repay what you borrow. And it's based on the information in your credit report, which tracks your credit-related activity. The FICO, which is the Fair Isaac Corporation, the score, the FICO score, I'm sure you've heard of it, is the most commonly used score by major lenders to assess a consumer's risk. And the biggest factors in that FICO score are paying your bills on time and keeping the balances low on your credit cards. Ideally, you want to keep those credit card balances below 50% of the available credit. Okay? Next slide. Having a plan for your credit card. Here's a plan. Keep your balances low. How about that? Now, the ideal situation is this. You've developed an awesome budget for yourself, right? Because the budget is a springboard to everything else financial. And you have your emergency fund set up because, hey man, life hits us with these big, deep breaking curveballs all the time, and these curveballs seem to come at the most inopportune time. So, rule of thumb: have at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved in the emergency fund. If you don't have the emergency fund, then people will use the credit cards. And thank goodness we do have those credit cards if we do need to use them, okay? They can be lifesavers. Now, you want to build your credit score or rebuild. If you can't pay off the full balances each month, you want to at least start making payments that are more than the minimum required. So the best strategy for using credit cards to bolster your credit standing is to put, just a small purchase on your card. I give, there's a group, Youth Job Center, that I give webinars every other week. Young kids, youth, mid-teens, late teens, and if they're starting to build credit, I always say, and for anybody who needs to rebuild their credit, start with small items, put them on the card, and put the card away for the rest of the month. Okay? Pay the bill even before it's due. Once you get the statement, just pay it. That's how you rebuild your credit. Okay? Personally, and you want to have any good credit cards, you want to keep those open because that helps your credit score as well. Personally, I have like 3 credit cards. I use one mainly for everything. The other one I use for Amazon. The other one I use to pay my car insurance because I want to keep those open because that's solid credit I've already built. And the longer you have a solid, good credit open, the better it is for your credit score, okay? So, and the last bullet point here, avoid treating yourself with a credit card. I think they're really implying if you are treating yourself, every once in a while when you build that budget for yourself, you want to, wants and needs, right? This would be a want, treating yourself. You want to go out to a nice dinner every once in a while. You go to a movie every once in a while. You want to work that into your budget instead of putting it on a credit card. That's what that bullet point is all about. Next slide. How much debt is okay? So, different people are comfortable with different debt loads. So, some don't enjoy the idea of large balances hanging over their heads. I'm one of those types of people, while others are more comfortable with larger debts because they accumulate the debt as part of an investment that they'll reap the financial benefits from in the future. So good debt is like a mortgage or a student loan. Bad debt is associated with the purchase of non-necessity items, like your credit cards, using a high interest credit card that you can't pay in full at the end of the month. So the general rule of thumb is that no more than 15% of your take-home pay when it comes to balances on those unsecured debts, like the credit cards or personal loans. So 15%. So if you have $40,000 in net take-home pay, which comes out to, because I crunched the numbers, it's an awesome number. It comes out to $3,333 per month. And so you take that figure, that's your unsecured payments, and you multiply that unsecured debt. I'm sorry, and you multiply that by 15%, and you get $500 per month. And again, it mostly means your credit card. If you find that your percentage is larger than 15%, consider whether that debt is bringing you closer to your goals or moving you further away. Again, good debt is an investment that creates value, like mortgages and student loans, other real estate loans, business loans, not paying the balance in full. If a large portion of your debt falls into the bad debt category, you've got to look at your monthly spending plan and pinpoint ways to aggressively pay down your debt. Only paying the minimums each month is not a recipe to successfully manage your credit cards. Okay? Next slide. Cost of credit. So this chart really just gives you an example of, if you put $5,000 on a credit card to use for a trip somewhere, let's say, if you put it all on a credit card, you didn't save for it, you didn't put it in your budget, you didn't make it a goal, you didn't save for it, right? You just put it on your credit card. This chart shows that, and you can see the different rates here. You'll see that you end up costing $9,300 if you're just making the minimum payment, just making those minimum payments. You could have paid for a second trip instead. That's a lot of money. It's quite a cost. Not to mention the opportunity cost of money. So, did you really want and need to take that trip? Okay, all right, I get it. If you need to do that, right? But that's $5,000 you could use for something else. So this chart just lays it out what you would pay if you actually just threw everything on your credit card. That's a lot of money. Next slide. Warning signs. Warning signs of credit card trouble. So again, credit cards would be ideally and primarily used for credit building. But sometimes it is necessary to put charges on the credit card, and a charge that you might not be able to pay off at the end of the month. In these situations, you need to be especially vigilant about how you use your cards. This bullet point list should always be kept in mind. If you see these warning signs, it's time to hyper focus to keep you out of the danger zone. Paying only the minimums, having balances that rarely decrease, being near your credit limit, and applying for new cards. Credit bureaus see right away, and your credit will take a knock. Okay, late payments. Ouch. Again, those late payments, they take up 35% of your overall scoring pie. Never, ever, ever be late. And this last one, not knowing what you owe. Look, I have a friend who is just feeling overwhelmed, and she doesn't know how much she owes, where, how much, anything like that. She's just overwhelmed. And I told her just to throw everything in a box. We'll call it the budget in a box. We'll have a couple conversations over the next few days, and we will create a budget in a week. It's just a matter of having the time and doing it. The worst thing a person can do is to stick their head in the sand and ignore the problem. You will develop an overall anxiety on top of the weird, anxious pall of energy that we've endured over the past couple of years. So you showed up today for a reason. So you're awesome, and you're being proactive. So that's the first step. Here we go. Next slide. Ways out of credit crisis. So you have to design a plan of attack for defeating the debt problem that you have. And it's always going to involve creating the budget and the spending plan. And the most efficient way to deal with your debt is to make sure as much money as possible is going towards paying down your credit cards and other potentially problematic debts, okay? Creating a budget will help you allocate your resources in a way that's realistic. But it shifts, once you do this and you're realistic about it, it shifts funds, it makes you shift funds in a direction that will aggressively deal with that debt. If you see any of those warning signs we mentioned on the previous slide, you're going to need to start cutting expenses somewhere, and you need to start with those discretionary expenses like entertainment, clothing, the needs versus wants, right? You don't need that $5 Starbucks coffee every day. Okay, make yourself some coffee for a few months. You just saved yourself $150 a month. And if you're in a debt crisis, that's big money to be able to pay down that debt. Okay, anything to improve your cash flow, in addition to looking for those expenses that you can cut back on while you dig your way out of the credit card debt. So it always comes down to, it's not what income you make, but it's about what you spend money on. Now, they say here to aggressively pay the most costly debts first. I agree with that, but there are people who prefer to take the lowest balance credit card and pay that first. It gives them a feeling of achievement. They set a goal, they achieved it. It gives them momentum to move on to the next credit card debt. This bullet point, there's a very tiny chance that a creditor will be willing to give you a lower interest rate, but it doesn't hurt to try. And I'm kind of passionate about this stuff because I had to dig my way out of credit card debt, and I initially called the credit card companies, and I think they literally laughed at me. They weren't going to lower anything, but when I paid it all out, paid them all off, they did indeed reduce my interest rate on those credit cards now. But I'm at a point where I'm able to pay them all, pay the balance off in full every month, and that's where I want you guys to get. Okay. Next slide. Where am I? I'm getting lost. Rebuilding your credit. Okay, we went over this stuff. Your credit and helping others. Okay, so I'm going to skip these last couple slides. I just want to summarize to let you know that if you do find yourself in an overwhelmed position financially, or if you know that you need to rebuild your credit, we have a great credit rebuilding program here. And we worked out a deal with the city of Evanston and with our vetted partner Balance. We've created a few different modules that will help you do that. And I've uploaded the information here. I'm going to follow up with an email. I'll include that in the email that I send out. So if you do need help and you do want to be you want to rebuild your credit, usually I will set somebody up with one of our financial services advisors. They'll sit down with you. They'll go over your credit report with you, and we can set you up with the Balance. By the way, let me see if I can. Bring this up. Let me see if you're okay. So here, yeah, evanston.balancepro.org. This is the website you want to come to. By the way, unless you do want to become part of the credit rebuilding program, you can go to this website. You don't have to create a profile. There's a lot of podcasts and videos and transcripts you can download. It's a wealth of information. So take advantage of it. It's all free information. And if you do need help, please send me an email. And once I send out the email, you can respond, and I will set you up with a financial services advisor, and I'll give you the details on the Balance program. And I'm going to check. I don't see any questions that have come in. I must have done an awesome job anticipating questions. And so on that note, I think I'm going to let you go. We're done. I appreciate you guys coming out, taking a few minutes on your what's today? Wednesday afternoon. And again, any questions, certainly send me an email. Appreciate it. And I wish you the best health, wealth, and that's it. I'm going to let you go. Thanks for showing up. All right. Bye-bye.